Is that the snake? No. No, it's just mist. A little fog. But it breaks up. Still pretty beautiful, though. It's like it's gathering and pouring out into the valley. Or maybe it is the snake. I have to be patient. No, it's not the snake. Oh, yes! I think it's turning into the snake! How about you? Huh?
When we watch a film for the first time, we get an impression of it burned into our minds that we refuse to let go. Wait a second, a third, and things begin to meld together, creating a new interpretation of or appreciation for dialogue or characters, but most importantly, a character's point of view. The human psyche can present itself strange, unique, and interchangeable. And like the Clouds of Sils Maria, the Maloya snake, a spectacular phenomenon of a cloud bank that winds its way through the alpine pass like a snake, we too can change at a moment's notice. One moment, a sunny beautiful day, the next, the inevitable change of the seasons. The mist, the cloud, I can smother what was underneath it. Like the wind that blows up during the night, and down the valley during the day, we too can contradict the typical direction of the winds, and ultimately, ourselves. This is 2 takes, and this is 1 shot, analysis of the film The Clouds of Sils Maria. It's interesting to realise that Helena's suicide is not as straightforward as we were led to believe. She wanders into the mountains for a hike and never returns, and this information is really only given to us right at the end of the film, presenting a different perspective on, well, everything. We understand that the characters in Wilhelm's Maloya Snake are reenacted by actors like Maria and Joanne, who in turn are a living embodiment of what those same characters have gone through. Their character Sigrid is played by a younger and more controversial up-and-coming actress named Joanne, who is fiery, charming, and ultimately ready to take on the world. And Helena is to be played by Maria, the main protagonist, who played Sigrid years before, marking this new role as horrible and pitiful. She cannot think like her character counterpart until Valentine leaves her, much like the reliance and love from Sigrid that might have given her character some purpose. The crutch has gone of their own free will, having Maria, especially in the epilogue, become a different person, accepting things without a fight, and letting things wash over her. But what is even more interesting is the conversations between Maria and her assistant, Valentine. In these interactions, life imitates art as the text of the play begins to comment on the text of the film, and vice versa. Like the Maloya snake, the ebb and flow of the clouds personify the ebb and flow of age and identity. In these scenes, we also realise that the relationship of Val and Maria is also like Sigrid and Helena. However, this time, Maria is like Sigrid, and Val is mirroring Helena because of her job requires her to live for Maria, the same as Helena obsesses to provide for Sigrid. Hence, we follow the inevitable change from one character to another of how Maria transitions to Sigrid, that is placed more like an attitude than anything else, to Helena, an embodiment of a fresh start, all alone. And so, Maria and Joanne could be seen as the physical incarnation, and Val and Maria being the emotional. Either way, Maria was going to change.
At 20, you saw Sigrid's ambition, and you saw her violence because you felt it in yourself. So? So that's what I'm saying. The text is like an object. It's gonna change perspective based on where you're standing. I don't know.
The character Helena, with her ambiguous death, could be a death of that version of herself, where she starts anew somewhere else without Sigrid. This is what Valentine tries to encourage, a more positive spin on an ending that leaves you wondering. Maria, on the other hand, still in the mind of Sigrid, point blank says is a suicide because she doesn't want to associate herself in this demeaning character. But it isn't because of the weakness that we have this ambiguous ending. Much like Valentine suddenly disappears and the panic ensues whilst the clouds cover the landscape, We see in the epilogue, when the clouds have departed, that Maria is very much a different person. Like Ratifa from Reddit writes, "She seems lost and adrift in the epilogue without Val around to steer her. The new assistant seems competent, but it just isn't the same. Instead of actually speaking up and having opinions, she retreats into herself and just does what everyone tells her. You could say it's a good thing, like maybe she really did just need to let go and enjoy the ride, but she's a hollow shell of the vibrant, talkative, thoughtful person she once was, as a direct result of Val leaving. It could be seen as a small death, and so Maria, from fighting with everyone throughout the film, saying that she still feels like she's a secret, she finally accepts the death secret within her and brings forth Helena. And what could be a thoughtful interpretation of this is that the director of the play, Klaus, comments on how Helena had once been a Sigrid, and how Sigrid will eventually become a Helena. Sigrid, from what we can gather, is more like an attitude than a singular character, like youth that eventually dies to become older, like Helena. And so, for me, under countless metaphors and interchangeable thoughts and characters, Maria went through a change of memories of adolescence, trying to cling on to the freshness, ultimately having to let go of this imagery of youth to give room for Helena. She denied the truth that everyone must grow up eventually and move on, and in the epilogue we unfortunately see it. Especially between Joanne and Maria in the final scene, wherein Joanne takes her own spin of Secret without Maria's help, and Maria, saddened by this, must accept it. It is no longer her character anymore. She is no longer Secret. She has retreated into herself after losing her support to Valentine to eventually stand on her own, starting anew like Helena in the mountains. In the mountains on a hike in Sils Maria, the philosopher Friedrich Nietzsche refined his concept of eternal recurrence in a thought experiment. The question on whether we would accept to live out our lives over and over again with everything the same for all eternity, or gasp in horror of this repetition and wish for something different. A litmus test for individuals showing their capacity to confirm life by living it over and over again, that would be a crucial measure of one's ability to become who you truly are. But what would be the right way to approach this? As Jack Madden from philosophybreak.com writes, and while we might be tempted to look externally to judge what is right, for instance, at given moralities, religions, or conventions, the point of eternal reoccurrence is that only by being truly authentic to ourselves, only by finding, choosing, and being responsible for our own paths, we could possibly ever affirm or approve our lives. It's the concept of becoming willing, able to become well adjusted to life and to oneself, to accept the way things are done, what compromises, what thoughts and meanings are presented to us, and to relive it, understanding that this is the path chosen. Maria was against all of this, assuming the path of Secret is in a new version of a play wherein Secret is older. Having to play Helena, the woman that is taken for granted, can burn and twist the version of oneself Maria thought she had covered. Maria, being of an older generation of actors, sees this as somewhat failure to keep up, but with Valentine's arguments of it simply being a change, perhaps a new one, could lead to better things when one is open to such alterations. Maria was not responsible for her own path until Valentine left her, and so she had transitioned, like Klaus had said, from a Sigrid to a Helena in one day. The event of the Malloy snake in the mountains personifies this transition, the clouds covering what was known, what was safe and true, bringing forth a new identity, an unknown in the works. And for Maria to become who she truly was, she had to accept the horror of this repetition and gracefully move along with new ideas, like the Clouds of Sils Maria. What are your thoughts on what was discussed in this episode? Comment and let me know to open up a conversation. Like and subscribe for more content of this nature, and come talk to me on Twitter or Instagram. Better yet, support the show on my Patreon to help a creator such as myself with learning on the go. Each like, each comment, each subscriber fuels the motivation I need to make better and better content for yours truly. Come say hi, and thanks for watching.